In the early 1700s, Russia began to change in a big way. Tsar Peter the Great started many strong reforms. He improved the army, the navy, education, and government. Because of his work, Russia slowly moved toward becoming a powerful European country. However, it was not Peter who finished this transformation. That task was completed by a woman named Catherine. Catherine was a German wife of Peter the Great's grandson, Tsar Peter III. She was very intelligent and ambitious. When her husband became unpopular, Catherine removed him from power and took the throne herself. She became Empress of Russia and later became known as Catherine the Great, just like Peter. Catherine admired the ideas of the French Enlightenment, which focused on reason, knowledge, tolerance, and progress. She believed education and culture could improve society. She even exchanged letters with the famous French philosopher Voltaire. Although she ruled as an autocrat with unlimited power, she tried to govern wisely and fairly. During her reign, Catherine strongly supported art, education, and learning. Many schools and colleges were built across Russia. Important cultural institutions were founded, including the Bolshoi Theater and the Imperial Academy of Fine Arts. Catherine also collected a huge amount of artwork. This collection later became the foundation of the famous Hermitage Museum, which is now one of the greatest museums in the world. Catherine also invited people from Europe to come and live in Russia. She believed they could help develop the country by sharing their skills and knowledge. Many German settlers moved to the Volga River region. These people became known as the Volga Germans. Their community survived for almost 200 years. However, during World War II, Stalin ordered them to be deported to the east. Catherine's reign was also a time of major territorial expansion, especially in southern Russia. Russia fought and defeated the Ottoman Empire, gaining new lands and important fortresses, such as Azov. These victories helped Russia become stronger and more secure. However, Catherine also faced serious problems at home. One of the biggest challenges was a massive peasant revolt led by a Cossack named Yemelyan Pugachev. The rebels captured many towns and forts and even attacked the city of Kazan. For a time, the revolt threatened the stability of the empire. Eventually, the Russian army crushed the rebellion. After this revolt, Catherine took strong action. She forced the Zaporozhian Cossacks to become part of the Russian Empire. She also annexed the Crimean Khanate, which had been a long-term enemy of Russia for nearly 300 years. The newly conquered southern lands were called Novorossiya, meaning New Russia. These areas had few people living in them, so Catherine encouraged settlement. Russian colonists moved there under the supervision of Prince Potemkin, one of Catherine's closest advisors and her lover. At the same time, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was weak and exhausted after many wars. Its powerful neighbors divided it in a series of partitions. Russia took the largest share of Polish territory. Poland disappeared as an independent country and did not return until 1918. Because of these lands, Russia gained a large Jewish population. Catherine ordered that Jews could live only in a specific area called the Pale of Settlement. They were not allowed to live freely in most Russian cities. Meanwhile, in France, the French Revolution broke out. King Louis XVI was executed. This event deeply shocked Catherine. In the final years of her reign, she abandoned the liberal ideas she once admired and became much more conservative and strict. 3 years later, Catherine the Great died. Her death marked the end of one of the most successful and powerful reigns in Russian history. She was succeeded by her son Paul I. Paul was very different from his mother. He was obsessed with military rules and discipline and strongly opposed many of Catherine's policies. Under Paul, Russia joined other European powers in fighting revolutionary France. During these wars, one of Russia's greatest generals, Alexander Suvorov, won several important victories against the French in northern Italy. The wider war against France did not go well for Russia at first. Tsar Paul I's foreign policy failed, and his actions at home caused serious problems. His reforms upset both the army and the Russian nobility. Soldiers disliked his harsh discipline, and nobles felt threatened by his strict control. Because of this growing anger, Paul became very unpopular. In 1801, Tsar Paul I was murdered in a palace coup by members of the nobility and military officers. After his death, his young son Alexander I, only 23 years old, became the new emperor of Russia. Alexander admired his grandmother Catherine the Great and shared her dream of building a modern and progressive Russian state. He wanted reform, education, and better government. One of his closest advisors was Count Mikhail Speransky, a very intelligent reformer. Speransky introduced important changes to Russia's administration and financial system, making the government more organized and efficient. However, Alexander was cautious. Although he liked liberal ideas, he refused to fully support Speransky's plan for a liberal constitution. He feared losing his absolute power and upsetting the nobility. As a result, many reforms stopped halfway. Soon, war became the main focus of Alexander's reign. France now had a powerful new leader, Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon defeated many European armies and became the most dangerous ruler in Europe. Russian forces, along with their allies, suffered major defeats at Austerlitz and Friedland. After these defeats, in 1807, Alexander and Napoleon met and made an alliance. For a short time, Russia and France were partners. Soon after, Russia attacked Sweden and took control of Finland. Finland became an autonomous Grand Duchy within a Russian empire, meaning it governed itself but remained under Russian rule. This peace with France did not last long. In 1812, Napoleon launched a massive invasion of Russia. One of the most important battles of the war took place at Borodino. It was one of the bloodiest battles of the era, with enormous losses on both sides. Napoleon technically won the battle, but the Russian army was not destroyed and managed to retreat in good order. Napoleon then marched into Moscow, only to find the city largely empty. Soon, Moscow was destroyed by fire, leaving the French army without supplies or shelter. Tsar Alexander refused to negotiate with Napoleon. As winter approached, Napoleon was forced to retreat. The retreat through the harsh Russian winter was disastrous. Cold, hunger, disease, and constant attacks destroyed the French army. Only a small part of Napoleon's forces survived. This defeat was a mortal blow to Napoleon's power. After this, Russia joined Prussia, Austria, and Britain to push back against France. Their combined armies marched west and eventually captured Paris. Napoleon was forced to abdicate, ending his rule. After the war, European leaders met at the Congress of Vienna to reorganize Europe. As part of the reward for victory, Alexander became king of Poland. Along with Austria and Prussia, he formed the Holy Alliance, which aimed to prevent future revolutions and protect monarchies across Europe. While these events were happening in Europe, Russia was also expanding in the Balkans and the Caucasus. Russia fought several wars against the Ottoman Empire, Persia, and local tribes. The empire expanded southward, taking control of regions such as Bessarabia, Circassia, Chechnya, and large parts of modern-day Georgia, Dagestan, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. However, the people of the Caucasus strongly resisted Russian rule. Russia's attempt to control the region led to the Caucasian War, a brutal and long conflict. Fighting took place in mountains and forests and continued for nearly 50 years, making one of the longest and bloodiest struggles in Russian history. After Alexander's death, he was succeeded by his brother Nicholas I. Nicholas was a conservative and reactionary ruler. He believed in strict authority and opposed liberal ideas. However, Russian society had begun to change. Some people, especially army officers, had seen new ideas while fighting in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. These officers wanted European-style reforms and saw Nicholas as an obstacle to progress. As a result, the new emperor's reign began with a serious challenge, a military revolt which would test his authority from the very start.